Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, we get episode 234 today.
Canton, Akron.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I just looked it up before I went there, and considering that you might be going out there for the Gridiron annual football thing, 234 is Akron, Ohio.
Wow. If that's not a sign.
Wow. Yeah, there you go.
If that's not a sign, yeah. So, well, we'll talk about the Canton in 1 second. So ways to get a hold of us here on the show. Digitaltodice.com is the website. Digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the text line. Digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. Over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And if you'd like to be a Patreon and support the show, if you think the show is worth 50 cents a play, patreon.com/digitaltodice, and you can help us keep this show going. And it's been 5 years. We started year 6. We want to thank Keith Avalone from Play Games. Come on, help us kick off year 6.
It was wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. It really was. And we have some more great guests lined up here in year 6 as the show continues on here. And I thought it was interesting what Keith said about, the golden age of gaming is still yet to come. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it.
Interesting word to say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting take on that. So it could be. You never know. So
I got a story I saw yesterday. HAL. So if you go to Keith being a newer school style, game creator, and so Strat being, one of the original online games. So Hal Richmond did a video from Lake Winnipesaukee.
That's just north of me, yeah.
At his childhood camp.
Wow.
And the origins of Strat came from that when he was an early teenager in 1948.
Wow. He
made 4 different teams. Don't know if they were real players or not, or how he did it or what it was. And they made a 5th team out of rejects from the other 4 teams. And that is the origin of how he started Strat. But out of a summer camp at Lake Winnipesaukee.
Very nice.
So, I was like, wow. So, Hal's 75 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
yes, I thought I'd forgotten that Keith had said that. I do find that very interesting.
Yeah.
But again, all the people that have done, first of all, daily fantasy, and with sports gambling being legal in a lot of the country now and all that, there are people who spend money on this stuff and have a genuine interest that they might not. It's not as casual, if you, and you're going to want to remember that.
Mm-hmm. So, well, you might hear some planes going by today because I do have the windows open for the first time since, I don't know, April. since we had the heat break, and it's finally it was in the 60s last night, 70s today, so the windows are open, and so you're going to hear some planes and trucks going by today, but it is nice to open the windows.
Blanket fully over me for the first time in weeks last night. It got down to 59 here.
Yeah, we were in the 60s last night, window open, and it was like beautiful. It was like, finally some relief, Of course, I was up. I actually played hockey last night, Jucket, and I got the game-winning goal. I tipped home the game-winning goal, if you can believe it. That's my first game-winning goal in over 2 years. I don't play as much as I used to, but still, when I get out there, and Tuesday is the most competitive league, so I'm out there with the young guns that are flying around, and somehow I got my stick on a shot and tipped it home. I was like, I'll take it, and I laughed. I says that might be the game winner, and it was. So,
going to start skating. You just got new skates too, right? Or new wheels?
New wheels. They put new wheels on my skates and the rollerblades, yeah.
So that's what it was. It was the new wheels.
It is really weird. It's like because you wear them down and they get all kind of cruddy and bumpy and you just get used to them. But then when you put on the new ones, it's like putting on new tires on your car. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so smooth. You got to learn how to skate differently because you don't have the wear and tear on them.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah. So speaking of Canton, yeah, the Apple Football Club is having their, I think it's an annual event, isn't it now?
It's an Gridiron annual event.
Yeah, over at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And you go there, and it's a couple of days, and they have I think they have a couple of tournaments going on. I know one of them is an APA tournament, but you could just show up and play and go to the Hall of Fame and look around and hang out in the hall and get lunch and the whole bit and hang out with some fellow gamers. And I'm real close to going. Things kind of opened up for me, and then I opened up the rest of my schedule. So I'm really hoping I'll know in the next couple of days if I can make the trip, and I'll book my hotels in a whole bit. I don't know if I'm flying or driving just yet. I might have I might be hooking up with somebody in Connecticut, and if that happens, I'll let you know who it is. I just don't want to say it right now, just in case it doesn't happen. But yeah, we might be driving out there and talking games the whole way and meeting some people, and yeah, it's gonna be fun if this happens, and I hope it does, to finally meet people face to face that I've been talking to, for years now on email and computer and here on StreamYard. So it could be kind of fun. And imagine playing APA football at the Football Hall of Fame.
At the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I mean, come on, that's that's going to be so great. It really is. So anyway, I'll let you guys know on that. And if you're in the area, if I go and you're in the area and I come by and say hi, absolutely. I think they're having a couple of dinners there too at different restaurants, so you don't necessarily have to go to the Hall of Fame if you don't want. I'm not sure how it all works. I'm still trying to, I've never been to one, so I don't know how all the details work. But
I don't think they've done it more than 2 or 3 times. I think this is it's not new this year, but I don't.
Okay.
I think because they also do it for baseball at Cooperstown.
Yeah.
I believe this was the second year Cooperstown to do that. So. Yeah,
I got to take a look and try to get to that one as well. So it should be fun. If we can get out there to do that, it should be a good time. But anyway, episode 234, we're going to talk about playing unfamiliar sports. And this was from a listener of the show, wasn't it, Ron?
From a Patreon in Ireland, Jamie.
Oh, okay.
Was in one of my baseball streams, and Action PC Baseball, I believe, was on sale for $5 or whatever, and he wanted to know because they don't play a lot of baseball in Ireland, if he would be able to understand it enough to enjoy it, considering that baseball is not a native sport for him. And we'll get into it when we get into the second half of the show. And it was late in the game, so I really couldn't give him much of an answer. And I went, why don't we just talk about it on the show? Because there are people who, especially with the Olympics going on, who might be playing some soccer, or, not everybody is intimately familiar with all the sports. It's almost impossible with all the different amount of sports to be out there that you want to play, to satisfy your curiosity. And if that's I'm not sure, I'm not familiar. I mean, you did this with Dave Little a few weeks ago on your channel. I'm not real familiar with hockey. How do you play it and to enjoy it? So I think that is, makes a good topic for today. How do you enjoy a sport on the tabletop or the PC that you may not be super familiar with?
Yeah, and we should have a good discussion on that in the whole bit. Because I know I have some things that I ran into myself, some good and bad. So we'll talk about that. So that's what we're going to talk about today, playing unfamiliar sports. How about if we get to what we're playing?
Sure.
I'll let you kick off this week. So what do you got?
Let's see. No construction in the building or on my floor. So I actually will have, by the time that Thursday rolls around, a full week of my 88 baseball replay going. The Detroit Tigers now have an 11-game winning streak. They went into Minnesota in a game I just finished about an hour ago, and the Twins still have the best record in baseball. They're 79 and something. And Kansas City has the second best record in baseball. And the Tigers just went into Minneapolis and swept them. And so the Tigers are red hot. The Red Sox are doing okay, but the Tigers are 2 behind the Red Sox, and because the Tigers just swept the Twins, the Royals have cut the Twins' lead to 1.
Oh boy!
And so we're getting right down to it. We're at the end of August in that replay, and so it's a number of doing my first 2 games on the same day, but on different streams. Because the flexibility of doing these as online projects is you're not sending a real crew out to City A. Mm-hmm. You're just hitting switching where the H key is there. Like, no, we're not going here. We're going to go here instead. And so to try to get as much of that as possible for people to enjoy, because we're now down to brass tacks. Can you imagine? Imagine if you were like the Indianapolis Colts and you're 13-0, and so, but the Houston Texans or whatever are 12-1. So you may have the best record in the conference. You may get the bye for the first round of the playoffs, or you could be stuck in a wild card game, despite the fact that because there's no such sure thing, and because it's 88, the Twins aren't guaranteed anything. I mean, here we are. We're almost into September. They had the best record. Oakland's going to miss the playoffs, I would think. The Mets have won their division. They haven't clinched it yet, but they've won their division. And, yeah, it's the Twins, and they're guaranteed nothing. That's the beauty of it, I think. I mean, today they'd be a wild card, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the Red Sox have won a couple of World Series as being a wild card, but at 88, you had to win it. You win your division to get in, and so... Yeah. So that.
Going back to what you just said about the Houston Texans, I don't know if you saw the video on YouTube where somebody was talking about the Tennessee Oilers. I think they were 1 year they were the Tennessee Oilers.
They were the Oilers a couple years, yeah.
Oh, were they? Okay, I don't remember them as the Tennessee Oilers.
When they moved from Houston, they went to Memphis. Okay. Because the stadium in Nashville wasn't ready yet.
So this whole video was on.
I believe they were the entire time they were in Memphis. They were the Tennessee Oilers.
Okay. I don't remember that. It's not very clear. Let's just say in my mind. But anyway, so they did a whole video on the Tennessee Oilers and why they were so bad in year one, and something I never knew. What they ended up doing was when they moved. That's when they had the radio in the helmets, right?
Right.
They
still do, but yeah.
But they were doing that at that point. And I guess they had all kinds of problems for the first half of the season, and the team was terrible, and they were using timeouts because they couldn't get the helmets to work. I guess that in Houston, every team has like a frequency, an FM frequency, and they have to either buy that or rent that or whatever it is with the FCC to use that in your helmets. Well, they never changed the frequency when they moved to Tennessee.
Oh, so were they getting like fire calls and all that too?
Well, I think they were getting like country music channels or something like that. But whatever it wasn't working because they never thought to change the band when they moved to a different area. Because again, if you listen to 101.1 here in the East Coast, it's going to be vastly different than in the middle of the country. Eventually you're gonna swing to a different channel. And so, so they were having all kinds of problems, and no one ever thought maybe we ought to look at an available channel here in the area. So it was an interesting video on the Tennessee Oilers and their headset problems, and why they were so bad. So, I guess that would contribute to it.
They played at the old Liberty Bowl when they played in Memphis.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I wonder if the other team must have had problems too, right? Because if they went into Tennessee, they'd be using the same frequencies.
Well, the NFL is the one that regulates all that stuff, so they must have, but they weren't very good. And McNair was a pretty young quarterback when they moved from Houston to Memphis.
Yeah, it was interesting though that when you started to talk about the Houston Texans, I was like, boy, I just saw a video on the Tennessee Oilers. I didn't realize they stayed the Oilers for a year or two. And then all the problems they had coming over from Texas.
Yeah, it was when they finally moved to Nashville is when they got the new name.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I always, get Tennessee tuxedo stuck in my head.
Yeah, I know, right? We all do.
Yeah.
So what else have you been playing?
Let's see. So did that. I won my first event on the PGA Tour and the EAP PGA Tour. I won the Amex, the old Bob Hope. And that's been pretty cool. I'm loving that. And for I certainly got my $15 out of that from the Steam sale. And so we've played, where we played? We've played Pebble, where I finished third or fourth. Mm-hmm. There was one place I did not play very well. So it's good. If that game goes on sale again, I highly recommend it. I mean, yes, it's console golf, so you can go super, super low, but some of those courses are just a bear, and you can't kill them. You just can't kill them. I also tried out Lance Hafner. We've talked about him before, and hopefully we can get Lance on at some point. His games in the 80s were the action PC of the era. all DOS-based games and all that. And somebody else who we need to have on, and I forget his name, I'm sorry, has transferred them into Windows-based games. So you no longer need to know to do the DOS box to do it. It's the baseball game, which I don't have, the pro basketball game, which I need to get, and the football game, which is 3-in-1. So it's both college and pro. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed the college basketball game. I don't know why. I think I was just bored. And this is all for free, and it comes with 65 complete NCAA basketball seasons. You can play any game between the fall of 1959 and past year's NCAA Men's Division I basketball championship, and you can match them up against each other. And so I pulled it out. He's done a remarkable job. He's added some sound to the game, and I don't know if he changed any of the play-by-play. There's a little for me, and immediately found the folder where I had everything in there. It doesn't necessarily stream real well. It played a mean game. I did the 82 NCAA final between Georgetown and North Carolina. Georgetown has Patrick Ewing, who I believe was a freshman from Brockton, right? Didn't he go to? He's a Mass boy.
Might be, yeah.
And some scrub by the name of Jordan, who was a freshman out of Wilmington, North Carolina. So I played the game, and North Carolina won, which was absolutely the right answer, like 56-44 or 54-46 or something like that. You can change a lot of the parameters and call that. Be curious when we talk about the subject about this. But it held your hand through the choices of the game, and it really did without any graphics. It's all text-based. I mean, this game was originally done in 1984. So the 40th anniversary of this game, it felt like a college basketball game from the era. And I think with anything that you do, you know, if you're going into like, geez, you know, I'm interested in doing some dead ball or whatever you want to feel like, it felt like that. And the game gave you enough information so you could either tell where to pass, and it didn't tell you whether the shooter was open or not. And then it would give you a percentage, and the higher, the better. And so you kind of have an idea of what, do I take the 22% shot or do I try to work for a better shot? And then it could be stolen. So it gave you enough coaching decisions and felt like you were playing, gave you enough information that you had an impact on it. Which was absolutely perfect.
Nice.
And we've talked about before. I know that you hear us old timers with the games talking about, oh yeah, there was the ad for this in the back of the Sporting News. Well, half our stuff was in the back of the Sporting News, and so you didn't get the 67,000 seasons when you bought it originally, but I got it now. I have to get the football and the pro basketball game. Such a deal, and they do run natively on Windows. As far as I can tell, you can't change the size of the window that they're in. They're pretty small. If I stream it, it'll look full because I can, play around with that. But it's just a chunk of the screen. But man, I gotta say, it didn't take all that long to play. I mean, I know that people have been asking about a long-range college basketball game, and I know Action PC Basketball does have a lot of good college teams with it, but it may not be everyone's cup of tea. There's absolutely no graphics with it, absolutely none. And so you go for the whole retro feel of it and go, I just played a basketball game from the 80s. And it felt like I was playing a basketball game from the 80s. Because that's why we do this, whatever. So that's primarily outside of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, which is a time sync game that I've been playing from this other one I got from the Steam sale. So the Action PC Football. The Colts games I'm playing offline. And Indianapolis lost to Minnesota 2008. Field goal of Palooza. And Colts had the lead late. and the Vikings just marched it down the field, walked it off with a field goal, thrilled to pieces. The one I'm doing on the channel, because I'm a Giant fan, are the Giants games from that year. And so the Giants went 12-4, and the again, I almost call them the Cardinals. In fact, in the video, I said, how many over under? How many times am I going to call the Rams the Cardinals today? And I think it was twice. And so the Rams went 2-14. The Giants went 12-4. The Giants were favored by 10. The Giants led by 10 late. And Steven Jackson ripped off a zone seam pass for a touchdown. Then the Giants held on for dear life. The Rams could not get into it. They had the ball late with one timeout in hand. The Giants made a couple sacks and won 27-24. Now I don't care if you're Kathy Ireland or Phyllis Diller. A win is a win is a win, no matter how pretty or how ugly it is.
Yeah.
And so Giants are 2-0, and the Bengals are coming to town for the next one of those. So enjoying the football game. I saw that you played one of those, and yeah, the Action PC baseball stuff. We're getting into September, and some real surprises.
It's good to see you playing the Action PC football. I've been getting back into those games quite a bit. Like I say, I pulled out the Action PC football in my 1979 season. Enjoying the heck out of that, actually. Trying to think who I played the other day. I've had some.
The Chargers and the Raiders.
Yeah. That was Fouts and Stabler going back and forth. That was a fun game. I think we had a lot of fumbles and interceptions in that one, but I think the Chargers come out on top. They held on or something like that. But that's been fun playing that 79 season. Boy, the Rams are finally starting to come back. They were in the bottom of the division. That's the team that went to the Super Bowl.
It's a horrible division. I mean, they should win it.
Yeah, but New Orleans is 8-1.
That's the year that they were the Aints that year.
They're 8-1. Dallas is middle of the pack in their division too. So, and Tampa's leading the Central, so Tampa's right there. But yeah, it's been a different season. It really has. It's been fun.
There's just not enough games to really mimic what I mean. You'd be hard pressed if you did the 2007 Patriots that they would lose a game. They might go 15-1. They might get caught later in the year, but I mean, going back to my first year with the 78 Chiefs, and you only lose games. They lost 6 games by 3 points or less or whatever it was. It's not a lot. Yeah. In baseball, you play 162. Yeah. It'll all even out, but in football, it's not going to. That doesn't mean that if the 72 Dolphins go 13-1, it's a bad replay. I mean, anything can happen on any given day, but
I haven't gone back to see how the Rams did, if they won a lot of close games or not, because, that's one of those, 78 Chiefs thing where they lost a lot of close games that they're winning in your replay, But it's just been fun doing that. I actually pulled out Momentum Football from Downey games. I pulled out that. If I go to Canton, I think that's going to be one of the games I bring, is Momentum Football. The only thing that stinks, I don't have a ton of seasons for it. And when I went there, they don't have a lot of 70s and 80s.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and that's
I bought 80. It's a good game, and you can do your own stats in that game too. You have the formulas.
Yep.
But you're right. You want that. That would be a very good game to do, but it needs more seasons.
I like it because I like the game-winning drive from Downey. It just takes a lot of setup, and it just feels kind of generic. When you play the Momentum Football, you get the defense and offensive factor in the game, which I really like. I like the fact that you have to roll for field goal attempts. I do like that. And it's just a different timing system in the game. So it does a little bit more than game-winning drive. That's what I really like it. I don't usually do the stats part of it. And that's unfortunately, that's what makes it more of an expensive game, because you're getting all the players there to do the stats. But it's still a very enjoyable game, and so I have a few seasons printed out, and that's one I might bring to Canton. Obviously, I'm going to bring APA, so I need to play APA at the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to play in the tournament, I don't think. I just want to play APA in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, that would be so cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to also bring out second season. I need to print out some more teams from seasons for that. So I think those are the three I'm bringing with me if I go. I don't know if I'll bring out any of the ultra quick football or final score football, anything like that. I don't probably.
I wonder
not.
if anyone will bring Fast Drive. That's a drive-by-drive game.
They should.
But Al Wilson's game, I mean, the number of those seasons, Jerry Quan, a.k.a. Mark Miller, is done so you can get the scores.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little more than just, rushing touchdown or passing touchdown. You can roll for receivers and runners.
I imagine someone's going to have it there,
because I don't think that Mike in the truck is going to be able to go. You should bring a couple seasons of that. He'd get such a kick out of his game being played in Canton because he is such a huge football fan. And it's him and Gary Sorrell and Kerry Batts get the new version of Pro Strategy Football ready for 2025.
Right. Yeah.
So some of those quicker play games.
Yeah. So I've been in a football mood, needs to say, here in the heat of the summer. I actually been watching one of the channels that I don't want to name the channel here, but he posts a lot of old games, TV games. He's on Al's stream all the time, if you know the name. And I think he posted one. It was a slow motion version of the 1976 Roughing the Passer on Stabler.
Yeah.
Holy cow! There are so many self-righteous referees that have chimed in on that. You know what I mean? I chimed in with what I thought, and then every day I get someone just like berating me because of my opinion. It's like, okay, whatever, dude. I'm getting ready to unsubscribe from the channel just because I just can't take the stupidity of people. Dude, this was 1976. Okay, what was that, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever the hell it was?
Oh, it's 48 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
So here's what I saw. I don't remember the play live. I was 5. I saw the replay. I've heard about, it was such a BS call. The hand got above the face mask. I think.
Well, he hit his arm, and the follow through went in up high to his head. My argument was, this is stuff they didn't. I mean, if he just went in and swung and hit him in the head, absolutely. But he got his arm. He blocked the pass, and the follow-through went high. My argument was they didn't call that back in the day. You could
see, I don't remember.
That was my argument. Was that yep, he hit him in the head, and by today's standards, that's a flag.
Oh, I think anytime after 78 when they changed the rules.
But in 76, that's not a penalty in 76. Okay, he went to throw it, he blocked his arm, the ball went flying, and on the follow-through, his hand hit Stabler in the head. Okay. That's not a penalty in 76. I'm sorry. It just wasn't. But all these people, probably guys half my age, trying to tell me that it should be a penalty because today it's a penalty. It's like, well, the rules have changed. And, back in the 70s, you could nail people after the whistle and it still wasn't a penalty. So
I've only seen the clip once. I think it was on NFL Network that I saw it. Might have been one of those lost treasures things that 69 or 70. It's the Chiefs and the Raiders, and the bench is clear. It wasn't. You never see that. Today it would be on SportsCenter for 7. Meanwhile, the U.S. has won every conceivable gold medal, but let's go back to December. Like a bench clearing brawl between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Yeah. And I think they just got offsetting personal fouls, and that was that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different. Even hockey was so different back then. It's like you look at some hockey from '76, and you're like, man, why is that not a penalty? Why is that not a penalty? Why is that not a penalty? Because it's a different game. They let a lot of things go. So anyway, yeah. So that's been fun listening to all the referees chime in from their keyboards. Last thing I want to talk about. Looking forward to Action PC basketball. They got the new release coming out in about a week or so, I think.
Yeah,
and they're going to be adding the player cards to the game like they've done in all the other sports. So basketball is the last one to get it. Looking forward to it. I really like it in the hockey. I really like it in the football. It helps me actually play the game in football because what I'll do is I'll hover over the guys and see what what their skills are. Do I want to run left or one right? Because, if I got a block of a 6 over here and a block of a 2 over here, well, I know where I'm going to try to run.
You can change that in the lineup. Instead of having the uniform numbers up, you can have the ratings.
Yeah, but that's okay. I like seeing the numbers. I like seeing the numbers because I remember the numbers. And I just hover over them and do that. Even on the passes when I bring in 3 receivers. Okay, who's better on the pass? Yeah, maybe I'll go to this guy, I try to spread it out, but I'll go to the better guys. So I'm enjoying that. Looking forward to that in the basketball game. And also, I heard they're adding a click-to-shoot button like they do in hockey.
Nice. That
should be fun. I like that in hockey. I don't want the automatic shot. If this guy's going to shoot, click to shoot. I want to see the shot, So I like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to probably pick up that. So Action PC basketball should be kind of fun. But, aside from that, I just been playing some of the Action PC stuff. I don't think I've been playing anything cards and dice that I can remember. It's been too hot to set up anything down here, and just work's been crazy. But things should be settling down the next week or two, so I should be getting back to all that stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about it. So should we move on to the topic of the day?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about playing unfamiliar sports. And what that means is, like Ron was saying, that, the listener over there overseas is not a avid baseball fan, that wasn't sure of the game, so he's trying to play baseball.
Didn't grow up with it.
So over there, he didn't grow up playing baseball, and and I've run into the same thing with some games over here that I like, especially basketball and soccer. I'm not familiar with the games. I don't know the positions. I don't know the strategy, and so when you try to play a game, whether it's on a computer or on the tabletop, and you're not familiar with the game, with the rules, with the strategy, the whole bit, it does make it tough. It makes it tough to play the game. Let's just call it what it is. It does. It makes it tough to play the game. However, though, there are some games that'll are a good introduction to them. So why don't you take it away, Ron?
Well, there are the storytelling games such as Stone Cold Hockey and for that, and Dice United. But I do think we'll start with soccer because I think that's the toughest one. As he's gone away for the moment. So I was going to talk about the game that you're least familiar with, and you get up and walk away.
I had to turn off the fan and close the windows. It was really getting noisy. It was the fan was too noisy, and the airplanes won't stop going over my house. So I'm sorry, I had to close the windows there.
So so there's a variety of sports that it's just not possible to know every sport. So most of the only soccer game, actually, you know what? I've yet to play a soccer game that you really can just kind of go into cold. Dice United is close, but I know soccer. Soccer's tough because on the surface, you think it's all 1-0 games.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is there's a lot of strategy. You don't necessarily need to know the strategy to enjoy soccer games, but just because the final score may be 1-0 or 2-1 or 1-1 doesn't mean that there aren't significant chances and how you change and all that. There is significant strategy involved in that. Problem is I haven't really seen a soccer game that you can just kind of go in and play cold and not know and enjoy it. I mean, the whole point of doing this is that, anyone can play any of the games and figure it out to some degree, but are you going to enjoy it? And soccer, I think, is the one that probably needs that the most. Dice United is a good game. It's a good introductory game, but there's a lot of rules to soccer that kind of get thrown in.
Do you think if you're a soccer fan and you know the game, that you'll get much more enjoyment out of a soccer
absolutely.
game, whereas if, like me, I don't know much about it. I see it on TV, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, okay, ball to this team, out of bounds, throwing ball to this team, ball. And I get that 1-0 game, and I'm just like, man, there's just not enough excitement here for the casual fan.
I probably should play more Dice United. He did a tremendous job with it. It is a great game, but you do have to have some knowledge of how the game works. Now, his Stone Cold Hockey, I don't think you need to know anything really about hockey. to make that game work. It's a good introduction to, it tells a story and shows what good offenses are and defenses and how important goalies are to stopping rushes and all that. And you get good visuals of where the shot comes from. Shootout to some degree does that as well. But Gary did such a good job with that. And with the computer game doing all, who gets the stats or who gets the goals and who gets the assists and that if you want to move on, you'd at least have some knowledge of how hockey works. Without it. Now, of the big four, I got to be honest with you, and this is going to come as a surprise. I don't know almost nothing about hockey strategy. Watched it for years. Canadiens fan. But if you sat there with the chalkboard during the timeout and diagrammed the play, I went, huh? Just find the open shooter. So, if you quiz me on what a neutral zone trap is, I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is, But when I went off to college,
I can explain a neutral zone trap is when you buy a pretty girl a drink at the bar, and as soon as you pay for it, her friend comes over. That's a neutral zone trap.
Yes. Yeah. That's nice. That's nice. Did you know that?
And then they leave after they drink.
What was the thing I posted today? It was Rock Lobster was a hit in this date, 1978, and so if you were six then, you'd be 52 now.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a funny one.
Yeah, and I'm 52, so I'd be 52.
There you go.
That's why I posted it. Thanks for that. Anyway, but when I got to college, it was introduced to strat hockey. I picked up on it immediately. It wasn't a very difficult thing to pick up. You learned the basics of the sport, and because you're playing it with people who know the sport, and so they'll tell you what they want to tell you. And if you're in a late 80s, early 90s draft, Brett Hall and Mario Lemieux will get you very far. But no, in all seriousness, I picked up hockey from watching a lot of it because a lot of my friends from that time were huge hockey fans. Go Whale and playing it, I think was the basic there. But but again, stone cold for me. I think if you had never watched a hockey game in your life, picked it up, knew the name Wayne Gretzky, which was the answer to every Trivia Pursuit sports question, I think, in 1985, right?
Yeah.
What third baseman from the Chicago Cubs? Wayne Gretzky, correct! That you'd be able to pick it up enough to see if you wanted to go further. And I think that without just doing a final score game for soccer, I'm not quite sure what that would be. Now, the key is if you were interested in that, is to find someone who'd be like you and Dave Little did with with the hockey, to hold your hand and go through why it's important and when you need to press and all that. Because on the surface it is, oh good, Germany 0, England 1. Great. Why is half the world losing its poop over England beating Germany?
Yeah.
Just for an example. So that would be a good example. Now, baseball is how he came up with it. And because of shipping issues, you just can't. If you're in the States, APA Basic, you're going to learn a ton as you did, a ton about baseball playing APA Basic. You did quite well with that. Pocket pennant run. Yeah, absolutely. Give that to a 7-year-old kid who knows a little bit about baseball, and they're going to pick it up. Okay? But if you're overseas and don't want to there's no PDF of APA Baseball, you're going to have to do something on the computer to answer his question. Yeah, I think if you're playing by yourself, you're going to learn. You're going to teach yourself the game. Again, to get back to the basketball game that we were talking about when we were playing, the game does a good enough job holding your hand through to make better decisions as you go. And if you're playing by yourself, if you play against yourself, then the computer's not going to whip your butt. The same thing for Action PC football. It does a good job of saying, okay, it's 1st and 10. What are you going to do? Well, click on a player and see what the most effective player is. I think Action PC football is a great teaching tool for football. Look, okay, Tony Dorsett has a 37% chance of a first down if you run play X. Oh, Okay, you just have to take your time to go through and get it. Again, you're not going to, I wouldn't say go to a tournament after that and do that, but to play with other people. But as far as teaching yourself and then maybe watching some videos on YouTube, or with football season coming, watching some on TV, you're going to be able to pick up on it to see if you like it or not. And so it's hard for me to talk about baseball in those terms, because it's like, well, I've done 17,000 hours in this one particular sport. It's all second nature to me.
Yeah.
And so, and you and I've talked about offline plenty of times, it's tough to do videos on something that you're a super expert on, because how do you slow it down enough to be super basic for someone who's not picking it up? It's the reason why coaches, superstar players, don't become superstar coaches, because if it's ingrained in you, like Michael Jordan on how to play basketball, how do you slow down to teach that when you're the best basketball mind of your generation?
Right. Yeah. No, it's hard. It's hard to do that. To like I say, when you know all about it, but how do you bring it way down to that level? Yeah. Now, for me, I when I was playing video games back in the day, I had more fun playing the basketball video games than I did the hockey and the football, because especially the hockey, because hockey, as I've been playing it at a recreational level for so many years, the hockey game doesn't play like hockey. It's just you get the puck, you go to the net, and you shoot. It's like U11 soccer. It's just everyone goes to the ball and everyone tries to shoot. So you can never, move the puck around the boards, get it to the point, set up the play. I mean, you can if you want to, but that's not how it's played. And so it's not the game's fault, but it's not how you play those hockey games. You play it like the Sega Genesis hockey. You get the puck, you skate as fast as you can, and you shoot it before somebody checks you. And that's kind of how you play the hockey games. The basketball, I used to like, because I would just move the ball around and take the shot like it was in the gym. And I don't know what I'm doing right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But I don't know enough about basketball to be upset at it. Like the hockey game, I'd be upset because I was like, man, this doesn't feel like a hockey game. This is just feels like Sega Genesis arcade hockey. It doesn't feel like I'm watching NHL. But the basketball, because I was kind of ignorant to how the game's played, I move it around, take the shot. I was having a heck of a time, playing video games with the basketball. Now, with the tabletop games, though, I enjoy, obviously, the games I know a little bit more about. I enjoy playing because I can see the strategy happen. And when it comes to playing a basketball game, it really needs to be a casual version of the game, because, like, I tried to play the strat basketball, and it starts talking about, is the guy open? Is he double teamed? I don't know anything about that. I don't know who to double team. I don't know when, and I don't know who gets double teamed by who. Most teams don't double team anybody, but that's in the game, and I don't know enough about that. I don't even know the positions. Seriously, I don't know a point guard from a left guard. I don't know the positions of basketball. I've never really. It's just not my thing. So I don't. I say I power forward, or I don't know. I don't know what the positions are. I just don't know, and so that makes it tough. Like, I really wanted to play Inside the Paint, which is on the computer, which is the basketball version of Inside the Crease, and I love Inside the Crease, but I can't play it because I don't know who's covering who and where the ball's going, or the positions and the whole bit. I don't know how to substitute. When's the substitute? So a game like that, which I really, really want to play, I can't. Now, the hockey one, the Inside the Crease, that's you have the automatic substitution, so it's beautiful. Now, you can manually substitute or you can auto-substitute. So for me, it's beautiful to have either one. But with the basketball, you got to know what to do with that. What was that other game I played here on the computer? Was it above?
I think if you tried above the rim for basketball,
is that the one? What's the one I was playing here on the?
Oh, you did Hoops.
Hoops PC. That's the one. Hoops PC. That does the automatic substitutions, I think. And so for me, I could just play the game and click around and follow the action, and it's beautiful. So when it comes to a game like basketball, I'm unfamiliar with it. I need to follow the action. I just need to roll the dice, flip the card. The up-tempo basketball. I really liked up-tempo basketball because I would roll the dice, and it would, okay, here's this, here's that, and okay, he's fouled. He you roll the dice. I don't got to worry about substitutions. I don't have to worry about double teaming. I don't have to worry about any of that, And I think the bank shot basketball from Joe Bryan was kind of the same way. It's just, and his new game too that come out is you roll the dice and you don't got to worry about substitutions because it tells you who's going to get the ball and how they're going to shoot and what's going to happen. So I like that. You don't have to, the substitutions in basketball is just kind of what screws me up. Same with baseball sometimes, bringing in pitchers and double swaps and triple swaps. I don't know anything about that stuff. So when it comes to basketball, if it's a casual game, it's unfamiliar to me, but I can really enjoy it. If you get a little bit too technical and you need more strategy, I'm lost and I'm not going to enjoy it. And that's the same way with the football, the soccer. I played Dice United. I got through a game. I was completely lost because I don't know anything about soccer. But I got through the game, so that showed you that the game was good enough for a guy that knows nothing about it to play it. And I had some fun with it, but because I don't know enough about soccer, it didn't capture my attention at all. Now, baseball, that's a game I know a little bit about, and I like the fact that there's some games that you can get really in-depth with, and there's some games that are very basic. Like, I love the APA Basic Baseball. I love that game. I like the Strat Basic Baseball. It's just easy for me to play. I don't have to worry about, leads and jumps and pickoffs and testing arms from right field. I mean,
right.
I can just kind of play a basic game. However, as I play more and I play a game like Season Ticket, now I can look into testing arms and the whole bit. And it kind of, I don't know, some games ease you into this stuff is what kind of I'm saying. So, so I wrote down here.
Strat Napa especially because they do have a master or an advanced or super advanced attached to them.
So sometimes the games will help you learn the game.
Right.
It's
kind of just like it with me in hockey, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you start playing Stone Cold Hockey and then go into shootout, I even think APA, I don't think you need to know how to play hockey to play APA hockey. Now, you do need to know about the penalties, because if there's a penalty, you need to know, hey, he's in the box for 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, So that stuff you do need to know. But as far as the APA hockey goes, I mean, you roll the dice and it tells you where the puck goes and who gets it. And if they're going to shoot it, you look at the card to see if he's going to get the shot on net or not. So that's so the APA hockey is even one of those games that if you're unfamiliar with hockey, I think you could play APA hockey even if you're unfamiliar with it, because you don't really use a lot of strategy in that. You kind of following the action, and that's what I really like about it. So sometimes the games will help you learn how to play an unfamiliar game. Is kind of what I was going with that.
Yeah, no, I agree with it.
Obviously, I think you're going to be better off if you have some kind of familiarity with the game itself. So if you know baseball, if you know basketball, if you know football, whatever it is, you're going to do a better job. Football, I don't know anything about defense in football, so I tend to play the games that allow me to just have an automatic defense called, or I roll the dice, or the computer does it for me. I think I do better with those games if I just kind of hang on to the offense, because I've tried to play defense and I just get destroyed, and it's just not fun.
And again, you just hit on the head. If it's not fun, you're not going to go back and play it.
Yeah. I think it comes down to the fun factor, and so for me, I mean, some people like it. Good, if you like playing defense, that's good for you. Maybe someday I'll take that that challenge and try that. I've tried it a few times. I've had minimal success. I have just more fun with the offense, and the thing is I'm learning the offense, especially with the Action PC and even in the APA. I'm learning, how to make the calls and what's the best play is, and that you can't be, playing schoolyard ball and going long every time. That you gotta dump it down and do some short passes and do some, a lot of runs and just chip away at it instead of trying to get it all in one take.
Talking about football, the one advantage that you have now, if you're coming new to the game, new to the sport, as opposed to 30, 40 years ago, is the reference pages. You want to pull out two teams, you can go to the reference page and see how they ran their offense. If they were a pass, you can see who did they throw to. Okay, so they did a lot of checkdowns to the third wide receiver or whatever. You can gather that. They ran the ball 35 times a game. Okay, so going in that primarily what you're going to do. Now, game situation will dictate what you have to do. You're not going to run it 35 times if you're down 3 touchdowns. unless you just want to get out of Dodge. At some point you go to try to win the game as opposed to try to get stats. Football's tough. Football is tough, but
if you have a game like Fast Drive Football or Game Winning Drive or something like that, the drive-by-drive games where you get the score sheet set up and you roll the dice and you figure out what happens on the drive, those are great. Those are great games because you don't need to know a lot about the game.
Right.
You can play the game and get the results and enjoy it without, what's the strategy here? I don't know what I'm doing. Who do I bring in as a receiver? What kind of defense do I use? You don't need that.
And there are, if you're learning a sport, we'll stick with the football theme, there are a ton of complete games from 1970 forward. So if you're interested in learning about mid-70s football, you can punch up a Monday night game and watch and see how they did it, which is so different from, someone, if you were a 13, 14-year-old kid in the mid-80s and didn't know that. I mean, so you can teach yourself an awful lot. The one sport that I think that, and you and I've talked about this offline quite a bit, that is a real struggle if you're a casual fan to play is golf. Because television does not do golf justice in the sense that, you're seeing maybe the leaders on majors on a weekend when you're seeing them hit every shot. But you normally, on your average Saturday or Sunday, it's, Tiger Woods for birdie, Rory for birdie, Scheffler for eagle, what have you. And you think that is everything there as opposed to, Joe Schmo duffed his tee shot. And now he's in the middle of the.
Well, also playing the video games like you were doing. You know what I mean? You're going 37 under par, which is unheard of.
Oh, completely unrealistic. Yeah, but, I forget what course it was. Oh, Banff up in Calgary. 59, 63, 59, 59. It's great. It's great fun. It's not realistic in any way. So you get to pull out like an ASG or an app of golf and go, oh, wait a minute. I don't know what the hell to do here.
Yeah.
And, and so again, you do A, B, and C, but again, I don't want to say dumb that down because you never want to talk down to someone that's trying to figure out a sport, but trying to make it simple enough that someone can understand. Well, if you put it in the rough, chances are you got a 50-50 chance of not making par, where, course management is the thing for real golfers. Sorry, Phil Mickelson. I wish you'd learn that. You'd have a couple of U.S. Opens. But, so that's the type of thing. And again, does that become fun for someone who is, I'll watch the last hour on a Sunday when someone's 27 under par? And, no. I mean, it's such a different thing. Tennis is another good example because it's not on TV an awful lot anymore. And there are very different styles of play, especially for different eras, where you used to net play would be the smart play to do, keep the point short. Today, thanks to technology, there are long rallies from the baseline. And so you just try to bash it past each other. You come in, you're going to get past, and you lose the point. And there are some great tennis games. Time Travel Tennis is a fantastic tennis game, and it will kind of tell you what you should do. But if you only know the names Bord and McEnroe, for instance, as opposed to, or Federer, or maybe no Nadal, you're going to be at a loss of what to do. Because I think with people, if you're playing against yourself on a cards and dice, you're going to lose. Who cares? You're playing yourself. You'll figure it out. But if you're playing against an AI, and I think for the tennis game, you're going to get your butt whipped if you play these players wrong. And that's not going to be as much fun because I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's some good examples of tennis and the golf. The golf, because we're so used to unrealistic golf, whether we watch on TV or whether we play the links game as you would. And then you get into the strategy games like we have today, and it's like, boy, this ain't fun. I'm not 27 under par, So, so you get a rude awakening with that, You just do. But But and the tennis was another one. I have the demo for the time travel tennis, and I play that once in a while. I have the inside volley.
That. It's the inside sports tennis game,
inside
right?
volley, and it's you play that like on a spreadsheet type of thing. There's a spreadsheet embedded, and that's kind of fun. You roll the dice, see if they return it, and the whole bit. And that's kind of what tennis is. It's you hit it back.
And again, there's some good game by game tennis games out there. Plays is actually you can do a set by set, game by game, match by match. I get the general gist. I mean, I don't think anyone's saying that if you don't know the sport that you should be expected to be playing these super advanced, did it hit the blade of grass or whatever. I mean, again, the object is to have fun and make you want to learn and make you want to play a harder game.
I think the games,
whatever your comfort level is.
The games out there that help you play the game, and I'm trying to say this in the right way. So, like a second season there, the play game. Mm-hmm. You can roll the dice, and you can get the offensive play and the defensive setup of whatever. So it could be, okay, I'm going to go medium pass versus say safe defense or whatever, and that right there, that really helps because it's, you can pick the play, but if you don't know anything about football, if you don't know enough about it, you can roll the dice, and the situation will help dictate what the play is going to be. And that's kind of how Grant's game, the 49 Quick Dex football was. You roll for the play. That was beautiful. You roll for the play. The defense is baked in. You go to the chart. You flip your card.
Solitaire Pro Football the same way.
And you get the results. So you don't have to worry about, did I make the wrong call? Because there's a percentages of, okay, if it's third and long, the percentages we're going to pass, but not all the time. And so games that do things like that you can roll dice or flip a card, or you don't have to worry about calling out your actions. That's actually a good way to get into games too, because you can be playing the game, enjoying the game, maybe start learning about the game, but you don't have to worry about making mistakes because the dice is calling out what it is. And those can be kind of fun too, because you're like, okay, I didn't screw that up. They called for the run on 3rd and 15. They called for the run, not me. They whatever. And so that's when it can be kind of fun, because it kind of takes the pressure off of you from screwing up the game or losing the game. So I like games that do that too, that kind of help you out, or that give you the option of we're going to design the play, or we're going to tell you what happens here if you don't want to. I do like games like that. And
the other thing is that, as we talked about before on the show, real life can be the anomaly. The 07 Giants, no way in hell should they have ever beat the New England Patriots. Yeah. But on any given Sunday, that not to bring up the sore spot, I mean, that it happens. Mm-hmm. And again, you make in football especially, because if you make a call, the right play, the right defense or the right offense, oh, look, they're playing for the run, I've got the bomb, intercept, that can happen. Just because you have the advantage doesn't mean that the play is executed. If you hear the infamous Kirk Gibson home run in Game 1 of the '88 series, okay? I mean, Gibson couldn't walk, let alone run, and he was looking for a backdoor slider. I know, don't trust me, that was the pitch he was looking for. And Dennis Eckersley never threw a backdoor slider except that one time at band camp. And that was the pitch that Gibson nailed. Again, real life it only happens once. You can go through and re-examine and why didn't this happen and why, but it only happened the once. And so even if you think you have it right, like you got it, for your example, you got the double team right. You've got Morgana and Andre the Giant guarding Michael Jordan. Well, Jordan can worm his way loose and hit the basket. You've done everything right to stop that or to slow that down, and it doesn't work, and that gets frustrating. And so, don't beat yourself up for those mistakes, especially if you're learning, because that's the way all these sports. There's always a little bit of luck in sports.
Yeah, and the other thing I would suggest too is, if you're playing an unfamiliar game, or even if you're playing a familiar game, don't expect exact perfection out of these games. And what I'm saying that's because I've been going back to Appa Golf and I've been watching all the videos from people who have made the Appa Golf instructional videos. And the one thing they keep saying over and over, this is how we play the game. And keep in mind, it's a board game. And I always keep that in mind, that it's a board game or it's a game. So there's only so much a game can do. This is how the game does it. Either like it or you don't. So with Appa Golf, they play. They don't play diagonal. They play on the squares in Appa Golf. It's like up and then left. Whatever it is. There's no diagonal. There's no curving. It's all on a graph paper basically. And he said that's how we design it, and that's as close as we can get to kind of real life golf. So that is that. And keep in mind, it's a board game, and the game does its best to simulate real life. So when you're playing these games, no matter what game it is, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, auto racing, it's a board game, and they're trying to simulate what happens. Like when you look at the Play racing game, which I need to dig out again because I'm in a racing mood
red,
too.
white, blue?
Yeah. That it's like 10 laps at a time. So that's going to simulate some things that happen during those 10 laps. When you're playing shootout hockey, you're flipping the card, rolling the dice. Okay, 3 minutes pass. What happened in those 3 minutes? There's a lot of things that happen, and we're going to focus on this, And
you waited in line to get that beer is what happened in those 3 minutes.
Yeah, and sometimes absolutely nothing happens, And so that's kind of how it is. In Play Hockey Blast, you get the lulls. And I used to hate the lulls, like, oh, what's the sense of this? But then you realize, well, something. Sometimes there's nothing worth talking about for those couple of minutes.
Right.
It just
and hockey is a good example because on average you get 60 shots a game between the two teams, and 50 of those 60 shots are just routine, and it's an easy save, and you chuck it off to the defenseman. And so if you're not used to seeing that, if you're trying to go into a highlight style game. Okay, you didn't see the easy save and Cheevers pull out the daily racing form after on the face off. It's just there, as opposed to a full play game where we see all those. And so, I want to get back to golf for a second because something occurred to me. When you play when you play a team sport, if Tom Brady has a bad game, then maybe Curtis Martin or a running back like Garrett Blount, who was there, would rushes for 130, or the defense makes a couple interceptions, and teams bail out each other. So you can kind of couch, well, I didn't get the expected performance from Larry Bird, but Robert Parrish dumped in 40 and made 10 blocks or whatever it is. In golf, it's individual, and so if you're having a bad day, there's nobody there to bail you out.
Yep.
And so and that can get rather frustrating if you just keep putting in the rough or the sand or you're missing short putts. There isn't someone, there's no one. Greg Luzinski isn't behind Mike Schmidt if Schmidt strikes out with runners on second and third, and that Luzinski can't bring him home. Yeah, in golf, it's all by yourself.
Yeah, different games do different things. You get the team sports, you got the individual sports. So so that's a good point there as well. So anyway, yeah. So any final thoughts here as we talk about playing unfamiliar sports?
Don't be afraid to try. I think that would be the first thing, and play against yourself. Make those mistakes, and when you're ready to go to play against an AI, then take that. And again, today with what's out there, you can sit and watch whatever it is that you want to watch and learn that way. And then, with the community the way that it is, you could also ask around. Mm-hmm. How do I do this? What does this mean? Did I call this right? Because people want to help you. Yeah. Absolutely. So
I think it's always fun to play an unfamiliar sport. You need to find the right game to make that work. Find a game that you can play, whether it's casual or maybe that can help you along, and to at least you're playing the game. Because I think once you're playing the game, you'll find out if you like the particular sport. You might not even like the sport. You might play a game and say, no, I don't like this sport, so I'm not going to do it. But if you're playing a game that you're unfamiliar with, and at least you're playing it and you're having some fun with it, then you start to learn it. Then you start to go down the rabbit hole. Maybe you go to YouTube, watch some videos. You turn on the TV and watch some games and see, hey, what does this do and what does that do? Okay, I have a better idea. So now when I put it on my table or put it on my computer, I have a little bit better idea what's going on with that, But yeah, no, I enjoy playing like games like tennis that I don't know anything about and basketball, but they have to be the right games.
Right. They had to. You're not expected to sit there and play a super high level of a game because you're not going to enjoy it.
Because you don't know what to do and you'll be lost and you won't have any fun. So my suggestion is start with something somewhat simple in a game you don't know and get it moving a little bit. See if you even like the game. See if you're having fun with that particular sport. And then from there, if you're enjoying it, then there's so many other games you can bump it up to the next level and play something a little bit more advanced. And and maybe you'll be on your way to enjoying something really, really fun, And again, ask along the way. A lot of people will, enjoy helping other people, learn different games. So, all right. So what do you think? Should we get into the stars of the week here?
Yes.
All righty. All right. Episode 234. Our 3 stars of the week in no particular order. Number 3, we have JT 2.0.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much, JT, for supporting the show. Number 2, Albert Guzman.
Woohoo!
Albert, thank you so much. And number 1 star here in episode 234, he just jumped in to our Discord. Big Daddy Stovepipe.
Yes, sir.
Big Daddy, thanks for coming by. Thanks for supporting the show, and hope you're enjoying the Discord and chatting with us over there. All righty, so should we wrap things up here?
Absolutely.
All right, you've been listening to the Digital to Dice podcast, episode 234. We've been talking about playing unfamiliar sports. How you go about doing that? Can you enjoy a sport that you really don't know much about? Ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. Ron, hopefully in the next couple of days, I will find out if I'm heading out to Canton one way or another.
That'd be awesome.
And I'm hoping I'm going to get out there one way or another, and it should be kind of fun playing some Apple football at the Hall of Fame if it works out this year. It was kind of rushed here at the end, but it's kind of taking shape, so we'll see how that goes. If I do make that decision to go, once I book my hotel, I'll let everybody know. So if anybody was thinking about coming out or was on the fence about coming out, if I go out there, maybe we can meet up and we can have ourselves a root beer and play some football.
There you go.
So anyway, all right, again, thanks for tuning in. Again, episode 234 of Digital to Dice. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And we'll talk to everyone later.
Good night, Canton.